Hey guys, today we are going to talk about the contextual meaning of a derivative. So, non-fancy way of what does the derivative mean in context of the problem? Okay. So let's start with the derivative. The derivative is the slope of the tangent line, but think about what a slope is. Slope is a rate of change of the dependent variable y with respect to the independent variable x. So, rate of change of the dependent variable y with respect to the independent variable x. So, change in y over change in x essentially is the derivative. Okay. Now, granted, when we are taking the derivative, we're wanting the instantaneous rate of change. So that's when we did the derivative as the change became 0. Average rate of change is your straightforward slope formula. Okay. And how we're going to label our units, because these are going to be word problems. Your units are going to be the units of f of x, aka y, over whatever the units of x are. The second derivative is the rate of change of the rate of change. So first derivative is just the rate of change, period. Second derivative is the rate of change of the rate of change. And the units for the second derivative are going to be the units of your first derivative over the units of x. Okay. Hot water dripping through a coffee maker, filling Miss Stetcher's mug with coffee. The amount of coffee in the cup in ounces is modeled by B of t, where t is in minutes. Question A says find b prime of 5. Well, b prime means the derivative, so we're going to take the derivative of this function. Okay. Well, if I look, I have a u. Okay. I apologize. Now we're going to take the derivative of u and fu. And like what we've been doing on Unit 3 tests, we're going to multiply those things back together. So I'm going to have negative 0.4 times negative 16e to the u, but u was negative 0.4t. So there is my b prime at t, but I want to know what it is at 5. So that means I'm going to take my equation and I'm going to plug in 5 for t. For college or for AP, they require 3 decimal places. Now, good rule of thumb. If like in this case, once we find this answer, we're done. We're not going to use this answer later on, round to 3 decimal places. However, if you're calculating something and you're going to need to use an answer later on, keep all the decimals until your final answer. Okay, so we end up getting 0.866. Now, part B asks, what are the units of B prime of 5? Okay, so let's look up here. Units are the units of f of x over units of x. Well, here's my quote-unquote f of x. Let me go highlighter. And then t is my x. So what does B of t stand for? Ounces, and t is in minutes. So my units of B prime of 5 will be ounces per minute. And how do we know? Because our rate of change is going to be B of t over t. Okay, that's how we knew what our units were going to be. Now, explain the meaning in this problem. Okay, here's where derivatives get a little sneaky. So yes, this 0.866 from part A is a rate of change, but that's specifically when t was 5. And if you're thinking, well, a rate of change is a rate of change no matter what, think about a coffee pot. If you ever watched a coffee pot brew, at the beginning, it makes coffee faster, and then towards the end, what happens? It slows down until it eventually stops because the coffee pot runs out of water. Okay, so this rate of change will not be the same rate of change throughout the problem. Okay, so we have to understand that when we interpret the meaning. So B prime of 5 means at time equal to 5 minutes, the coffee, because that's what we're dealing with, is increasing at 0.866 ounces per minute. Okay, starting in this unit, we're getting into, and obviously it's the name of the unit, contextual, meaning we're going to be getting into things where you're going to have to explain what your answer means or where it came from. Okay. All right, almost done with notes. Miss Stitcher is now roasting marshmallows over a fire. The table below gives selected values of the temperature, T of x in degrees, on a metal stick, x centimeters, the heated end. So here's my f of x. That's my temperature. X is my centimeters. Okay, we'll be using those later. Estimate T prime of 4 using the table. Well, here's what you got to ask yourself. 4, where is that at in respect to our table? 4 is between 1 and 5, so that's what we're going to use to estimate T prime of 4. Know that this is an estimate and it's not going to be exact, especially because 4 is not exactly in the middle of 1 and 5. Okay, so since we're estimating, this is us going to find an average rate of change. Average rate of change is quite literally your slope formula. So we're going to do T of 5 minus T of 1 over 5 minus 1. So the temperature at 5 is 70. The temperature at 1 is 93. 5 minus 1 is 4. we get negative 5.75, and let's go ahead and put our label on here. I know it didn't ask for it, but always put your units. So the top, T of 5, T of 1, that is our degrees. Per, and the denominator was distance, centimeters. So there is our rate of change, our estimated rate of change. So now part B says, what does that value mean in context of this problem? Okay, so again, we've got to identify where are we at. So 4 centimeters. So at 4 centimeters, what's happening? The temperature is, we got a negative answer, so that means our temperature is decreasing. At 5.75 degrees per centimeter. Okay, and I want you to understand that a rate of change is not always with respect to time. In for instance, this example, it's a degrees per centimeter, and think about it. When you roast a marshmallow on one of those metal poker sticks, the front end of the poker stick is a lot hotter than it is back by your hand. Okay, and so that's what this question is in reference to. All right, this last example is kind of a tricky one, and it's kind of hard to see, and I can't zoom in too much or you'll lose part of the problem, but we're going to look at a couple of things, and I didn't give you marginal cost on your homework. Know that marginal cost is your instantaneous rate of change. Okay, instantaneous rate of change is your derivative. Okay, average rate of change is your slope formula. So on your homework, guys, it says either average or instantaneous rate of change. Okay, so instantaneous rate of change I know is a derivative. Well, hey, look, that automatically eliminates options A and B because neither one of those are a derivative. I'm now between C and D. Okay, the function C of X is the cost in dollars, blah, 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 blah. We have this function, and now granted, this function is kind of given to you as a distractor, and they want to do number of cakes plus 1, and they want the 40th cake. Well, 40 is equal to x plus 1, so that means x is equal to 39. So I want the derivative when x is 39. My answer is C. And like I said, the multiple choice questions on your homework are much simpler than this one. I put this one on the notes because it was more complicated. But now keep in mind, when you get to your homework, make sure you remember on your units, when you are labeling your units, it's the units of f of x over just the units of x. There are a couple of the multiple choice ones that if you don't read it carefully, you will get them wrong. Okay, you have to pay attention to what the f of part is, what is its units, out of what is just the x or the s or the t or whatever, okay? Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, feel free.